rain had been falling for 3 days straight. Not the gentle kind, not the passing kind. This was the kind of rain that erased roads, the kind that swallowed fields, the kind that turned villages into islands of fear. The small rivers surrounding the village had overflowed long before dawn. By the time the sun tried to rise, there was nothing left to reflect it, only endless brown water. In the middle of this flooded land stood a fragile wooden house. Its walls shook under the pressure of the current. Its roof, thin metal sheets nailed together, was the last piece still above water. And on that roof stood a dog. He wasn't big, not fast, not strong, just soaked, exhausted and shaking. He had climbed there hours earlier, escaping the water inch by inch, paw by paw. But now there was nowhere left to go. Every wave rocked the house harder. Every second, the roof grew slicker beneath his feet. One wrong move, and the water would take him. This dog had no voice loud enough to call for help. No owner in sight, no rope, no rescue boat, only rain, only water, and fear. But he wasn't alone. Down below, something massive shifted beneath the surface. At first, it looked like another wave, then another surge, until the water broke apart. An elephant emerged, a full-grown adult, her skin darkened by rain and mud, her eyes calm but alert. This elephant did not belong to the village. She had been moving through the forest when the floods changed everything. The water had taken her paths, her food, her sense of direction. Now, she stood in the flood, surrounded by human structures she didn't understand, and above her, a dog stared down. 2 species, 2 worlds, trapped by the same disaster. The real question wasn't whether the flood would get worse. It was this: would they ignore each other, or would something extraordinary happen? Then the flood surged again. The house groaned under the weight of the water, wooden beams bending, the walls quivering. One wall cracked, sending a shudder through the roof that tilted just enough to send a new rush of water sliding toward the dog. This was the moment when fear became almost unbearable, when instinct screamed louder than reason. And yet, from the chaos, the elephant moved with a serenity that belied the storm. She raised her trunk slowly, deliberately, upward into the air. It was not a charge, it was not a wild reach, it was a careful, measured test, gauging distance, gauging reaction. The dog snarled, a sharp, terrified warning, but the trunk froze mid-air. The elephant paused. Seconds stretched into eternity. Rain poured down around them, drumming in perfect, chaotic rhythm. The pause itself carried the weight of 1,000 possibilities. She was choosing, she was deciding, and in that suspended moment, the rules of predator and prey, of fear and survival, were rewritten in silence. Then, something unexpected happened. The elephant stepped closer. The water now lapped hungrily at the roof's edge. The dog slipped again, this time farther than before. He yelped, claws scraping desperately, almost losing his precarious balance entirely. Instantly, the elephant reacted, trunk shooting upward, not in aggression, not in force, but with a precise urgency that spoke only of intention and care. The tip brushed the edge of the roof. The dog scrambled backward, panic etched into every muscle, nails clawing at the slick surface. And then, almost immediately, the trunk retracted. She did not push, did not force. She changed approach, lowering her massive trunk, then raising it again, slowly, gently, steadily, rain dripping from its tip like a delicate cascade. She was not grabbing. She was offering support. The dog stared, eyes wide, torn between instinctual fear and the faint, impossible glimmer of trust. Behind him, water surged with terrifying force. Below him, the unknown threatened to swallow him whole. The roof shuddered violently, as if the storm itself were testing their limits. The choice was made for him. The dog slid forward, heart thundering in his chest, and then, with a grace that defied her immense size, the elephant wrapped her trunk softly around him, not squeezing, not trapping, just cradling, lifting, guiding. The moment froze. Rain screamed from above, water roared below, and in the eye of the storm, a single image held the scene in suspension, an elephant holding a tiny, terrified dog, sheltering him from chaos. For a second, just a fleeting heartbeat, the dog stopped shaking. He was higher now, safer, removed from immediate danger. The elephant's movements were precise, measured, careful. She placed him gently on the highest part of the roof, away from the collapsing edge, her massive feet steady against the slippery surface. She stepped back, silent, unassuming, watching. No expectation of praise, no demand for recognition, just the quiet satisfaction of a life saved. The flood continued its relentless rise, water gushing over the roof's edge, sweeping away debris in a violent torrent. Yet the dog, now perched on his temporary sanctuary, felt a fleeting moment of relief. Behind him, the chaos continued, but for now the immediate threat had passed. The elephant turned back toward the water, moving with a silent dignity through the storm, disappearing into the rising flood with the same calm determination that had guided her every step. And yet, even as hope seemed to flicker, the storm had one last challenge in store. The dog, panting, shivering, and soaked to the bone, could sense it. The water's edge shifted, the roof groaned beneath the combined weight of rain and fear, and the sense of precarious balance lingered like a taut wire ready to snap. The voiceover whispers quietly, suspensefully, piercing the chaos, but just when it seemed over, the flood had one final test left. The camera holds on the dog, eyes wide, ears pinned, every muscle coiled like a spring. Behind him, the floodwater churns, merciless and indifferent. Above him, rain continues to fall, relentless, each droplet a tiny hammer against tin, skin, and fur. And in the center of it all, the viewer witnesses the impossible alliance, the fragile dog and the immense elephant, bound together in a moment of courage, trust, and survival, caught between fear and hope, chaos and calm. Hours later, the rain began to soften, not stop, just slow. Rescue boats finally reached the area. People stared in disbelief at what they saw. A dog, alive, standing on a roof that should have collapsed long ago, and deep in the mud below, massive footprints leading away. The dog was rescued, shivering, exhausted, but alive. No one ever saw the elephant again. But her act remained. In a disaster where humans lost homes, roads, and safety, an animal made room for kindness, not because she was trained, not because she was told, but because she could. In a world drowning in chaos, sometimes compassion rises from the least expected place. The screen fades to calm water. Birds return. Silence. Then, if this story moved you, subscribe for more true animal rescues that remind us what humanity really means. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done in the middle of the flood?